Hey everybody, this is Ask the Pastor. It's where the internet sends me questions and I have to do my best to answer them. Sometimes they try to stump me. You know, I've only been doing this for 3 years. Maybe you've got a question you think I can't answer. Other times they just really want an answer to their question and they're trying to understand. Here's a question that got sent to me a couple days ago. It goes like this: if God is all-knowing, then why did he put the forbidden tree in the Garden of Eden? Oh, that's an interesting question. In some ways, it's a complex question. You can click up here, and we can talk about complex questions with the pot on my head video. But the question is, okay, God knows everything. So why does he need to put a tree in the Garden of Eden? And of course, the answer has to come back, well, the purpose of the tree didn't have to do with God learning something. It didn't have to do with God like testing Adam and Eve to see what they were like. And it didn't have to do with God like protecting God's knowledge in any kind of way. But the tree is called knowledge. It's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, I disagree. I'm a person who thinks about God, and so that makes me a theologian. You're watching this video, and so that makes you a theologian, because watching this video, you're going to think about God too. And as a theologian, I disagree with some of the best Christian theologians out there, because a lot of Christian theologians throughout history would say, well, God had a plan. And the Garden of Eden is a representation of the truth about the cosmos, and God's plan involved the fall and the restoration. And I think there's some truth to that, but it doesn't really get to the core of the question. The more important question is like, why is the tree there at all? How's the tree good? Right? Like, what's the tree doing that God, because he has to like lay a trap so he can restore, and that's just weird. All right, so here's something, and this was pointed out to me by a guy by the name of John Mark Reynolds. Last I checked, he's a head of a school in Houston, but brilliant guy. He says, well, here's the thing about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is that Adam and Eve were told, this is the garden, everything in it's good. You can eat of the fruit of any of the trees, but don't eat of the fruit of this tree, because it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the purpose for that tree is for you to not eat of the fruit of it. And they eat of the fruit of it. And then they know good and evil, because they know evil. Because they know disobedience. There's been an opportunity to disobey, and they've taken that opportunity, and God says, oh no, you ruined it. Now I have to punish you. This is evil. And evil enters the world, and there's suffering, and there's dying, and there's pain in childbirth, and there's work to try to make the land produce, and there's exile, and the first two kids murder each other, and it's a mess. Evil, we know evil now. Boy, was it worth it. We could have not known evil. But there's another opportunity. Suppose there's the tree there, and God says, don't eat of the fruit of that tree, because that's the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And Adam and Eve say, all right, we won't eat of the fruit of that tree. Then what happens? Then they know good and evil, right? Then they understand. By obedience, they're like, oh, this is good. This is moral righteousness. We've done something good, and now God can say, hey, way to not eat that tree. You can continue to live in the garden, and I can reward you. I can make the garden better somehow. Good results in these things, and now you have this really good thing, which is knowledge. In popular culture sometimes there are like depictions where they say, hey, Satan, we actually like Satan in this particular version of the story or this twist or this community, because Satan wants the people to have knowledge. God wants to keep the people ignorant, but Satan wants the people to know good and evil. You know, he's really a pretty good guy in this story. You missed it. God put the tree in the garden. It's the tree of knowledge. And it's because God wanted us to know good and evil. He just didn't want us to know good and evil by experiencing evil. That's what resulted in the fall. That's what's wrong with all of us, is that we all have this tendency to try to experience evil, to try to live out evil, to try to make the same mistakes our parents did and their grandparents did, and over and over again. We have these needs to learn the lessons the hard way. But God wants knowledge. And knowledge of good and evil, that's a part of the garden. That's a good thing. In fact, even the serpent, he's the shrewd serpent. He's the one who figures things out and is sneaky. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a thing we're called to. Jesus called us to be shrewd, like a shrewd manager. That's why the tree is there. Is that the tree helps us to know good and evil. And if only we'd known good and evil in the better way, man, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess. That's my answer. If you think it's a good answer, I hope you'll share this video. Share it with somebody else who needs to see it. If you don't think it was a good answer, if you maybe agree with the other theologians throughout history, or you agree with somebody else and have an even different take, I want to know what your different take is. I hope you'll make a video and share it with me. And finally, if you've got your own question, I would love to answer your question here on video on this channel. So give me a comment down below and I will answer your question on video. If you want to watch more, you can watch these guys. These are good. Bye.